What's up, y'all? Hey, second chance. We all about giving second chance. I feel like the life that you live is the legacy that you're gonna leave. So I created this little presentation just because I wanted to leave a legacy and leave something for people whenever I'm not here. Something that motivate them, inspirate them, and educate them. So I created this little webinar. Um, it was once upon a time. It was a boy named Donald. He grew up in Alton, Illinois, born 1988. A normal story of a young kid in poverty, dad in prison, mom experimenting with drugs, uh, just the regular old normal story. So this is Donald right here, little chubby little baby. Uh, this is him at 12 years old with the key around his neck, think he doing something, house key all. And then this is him with his cousins and them holes in his shirt, just one more out of life. Don't know how to get it, so he just getting it the best way he knew how. And the way that everybody was getting it back in that era was to sell drugs. So he selling drugs and living that lifestyle, living everything he saw in the streets. So therefore, it manifested into his life. So it made him a product of his environment. It was a saying I heard that whenever you're looking through a peephole, that's all you see. So you don't see the world around you. You don't know what's down there. You only see what's through this peephole. And by him living in the area he was living in, the family he grew up around, that was the peephole that he looked through life. That's what he seen whenever he looked out his door. That's his life he saw. So when you looking through a peephole, you're gonna be like, man, the world is like this, selling drugs, getting girls, and riding, being luxurious. And people who's not looking through your same people are gonna be like, nah, the world ain't like that. The world is way bigger. It's more than just money and getting drunk and having fun. The world is way bigger than that. But when you in that environment, you can't see nothing but that. So when you in that environment, you're gonna be a bird. Birds of a feather flock together. So um, he ended up in the same situation, as the rest of the birds. They jailbirds is what they call them. So he ended up doing 2 years in state prison, and then he did 6 years in federal prison because he wanted to do all of the things that the rappers was talking about and live that lifestyle. And then what the rap lyrics wasn't telling him is you got to watch your family grow up through pictures. His son came to visit him. He came to this that um, his son came to the exact same prison that his dad he visited his dad at Oxford, Wisconsin. All right, and when his son left that night, he realized that he's not breaking these generational curses. He's not changing. If he keeps down this path, his son is going to see that and be more attracted to that because a lot of kids just like to grow up like their dad, just like he grew up like his dad, ended up in the same place that his dad was at. So I won't lie, whenever he got back to the cell that night, he cried. He cried like a little baby, and it was because he wanted change, real change. So he put down all of the James Patterson and all of the urban novels and picked up like real books that could educate him, psychology, um, biology, and uh, that was a traumatic experience. And sometimes it takes a traumatic experience for people to wake up. So he woke up, he did a total rebirth of himself and got his mind, body, and spirit right. And when I talk about mind, body, and spirit, I mean focus on the things that can change you, help you change. Don't focus on like the sports game. That's not gonna help you at all. Don't focus on whose new album is out. When you're putting trash into your head, trash is being manifested into your life. So put positive things that can actually help you into your head, and then your life will be so much better, right? If just like when you eating, if you eating bad things and drinking like liquor and smoking weed and all of this stuff, it's gonna affect your daily life, right? So eat good, put good stuff in your head, and that stuff is gonna manifest into reality. And whenever I talk about spirit, I'm not being religious. I'm just talking about spiritual as in forever, like your legacy. So whenever I talk about spirit, I'm talking about things like Henry Ford. Here, everybody know Henry Ford for building the Ford Motor Company, right? You look outside and you see a Ford going up the street. That's Henry Ford's vision, still living on today. That's his legacy that he left. So when he got out of prison, he um, he started investing. You know, everything he knew, he started putting into action. Right? Knowledge is power, but implementation is the key. You gotta have the knowledge, or you will never be able to do the thing. Right? And you have to do the thing, or you truly don't know what you're talking about. So everything he read, everything he learned, he started doing. He started implementing it, and became a landlord. And some people don't like their current living situation. So one thing I say about that is um, move, get out of that situation. You are not a tree. You're not planted in this situation. Get out of there. I know it's people that's counting on you and people that need you, but you need you more than they need you, right? This is your life. You have to do something for you that's gonna change everybody. Because if you don't change, you can't possibly help nobody else. So get out of that environment and become something more. And a lot of people ask how he did it, you know. So the thing with living in prison was you don't have to pay rent. You don't have to pay for food. So if you don't have to pay these things, but you still making money, what is it to do? So you just save your money. And whenever he got out, he used the same concept when he got out, living in a duplex and having a tenant pay it, but still going to work. And now his living expenses is nearly zero. So while he was in prison, he saved his money because he ran a store. He sold honey buns and chips and sodas for a 10-cent profit. But if you in prison for 8 years, all of them 10 cents, they add up. So when he was released, he had $10,000 saved up and he invested in the stock market. That was around the time that Trump was in the stock market and it was going high and low and high and low. So um, it made a little money. And then he simply just asked his landlord if he wanted to sell a property. That was it. It was nothing spectacular. It was, hey man, you got an extra property you want to sell? And he sold him that duplex. He bought the duplex and got his living expenses to zero, right? And now he can save more money and invest more. That's the whole breakdown. It's nothing magnificent or nothing, but after that, he invested in himself. He produced a product that can help people. Nobody gets rich, like serious wealth. They don't get that unless they help a mass amount of people. So he put all of his knowledge into a book, and now he's out here helping people, right? Motivating, educating, inspiring, and like at first, like he was killing the community. Like go outside and people is dying because of you, right? Turn that all the way around and now you helping the community. That's a big step. So real estate 101. These is all of the steps. What you need to know and what you need to know. So you don't need a license. You don't really need good credit, and you don't need a lot of money. Those are the three biggest things that people get misconceptions about. Like I need to be a realtor and all of this stuff so I can have access to the MLS and find a good deal. And that's not the case, right? Um, you can find deals just like I found a deal. I asked my landlord, right? Every good deal, the good deals is not on the market. Let me repeat that. The good deals is not on the market. You're gonna find the best deals that's not on the market. Um, you don't need good credit. Uh, Whenever you're doing a seller finance, that's whenever the person selling the house is acting like the bank. You don't need good credit. You just need to have a contract in place and have a down payment and work it out that way. You don't need A1 credit or nothing like that. Right? You don't need a lot of money. If you know what you if you study this stuff and know what you're doing, you will understand that you don't need a lot of money. I actually closed on a $500,000 deal with $20,000, $570,000 worth of real estate for $20,000. You don't need a lot of money. You just need to know what you're doing, study this stuff, and find the deal. So one of the things that need to be addressed is appreciation and depreciation. That's big. A lot of people don't understand it, but appreciation is whenever something goes up in value. Depreciation is when something goes down in value, right? If you buy something for 1,000 and it goes up to 2,000, it appreciated. But if you buy something for 2,000 and it go down to 1,000, it depreciated. And that's what real estate does. It either appreciates or depreciates. And the one way to make sure that you're not losing is to always purchase an asset. Assets put money into your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket, right? Asset will be a building that put money in your pocket, like a duplex. If you're buying a regular house, that's not an asset, it's a liability because it's taking money out of your pocket every month. You got to pay mortgages, you got to pay light bills, you got to pay taxes. That's a liability, it's not an asset. Buy assets first and take your money from the assets and then buy liabilities. So when you're buying these assets, make sure that they are appreciating assets, things that will go up in value. All right. So you take a duplex, for instance. You pay $100,000 for it, right? You're paying $100,000 for it. It's an asset, so you're not paying it. Your tenants is paying for it. All right. You take that asset, and then it goes up in value. Now you won two times. You won whenever you was buying it and having somebody else pay for it, and then you won whenever it went up in value, right? So that's how money works. If you're taking your money, buying things that put money in your pocket and go up in value, that's when you win. So it's different types of real estate. You got single family houses. That's like with one family living in a house. That's a single family. And that's like your normal house. And then you got multifamily. So then your multifamily will be 2 to 4 units. Multifamily. Like a duplex, threeplex, fourplex. Those are multifamily. And then whenever you get into like big skyscraper buildings and you know, projects and things like that, that's commercial. So commercial would be like when a whole lot of people is living there. And another type of real estate that you don't hear about is land. Land is big because you can do almost anything with it. And then the types of investing, a lot of people hear about flips, flip and fix, you know, fix it up and then flip it for a profit and all of this stuff. And I did that before, and it's all right. Like it's nothing wrong with it, but what we want like is cash flow. Cash flow. We want that money coming in for the rest of our life, our kids' life. That's the way to true wealth. Like we can get $100,000 on this flip, but only thing we're gonna do is just spend it. We're gonna go buy that new house, that new car. No, we want that money coming in forever, so we don't have to go to work. That's the thing. Now, whenever you fixing and flipping, yeah, go ahead and do it to get ahead. You know, we not ahead in life because we don't own nothing. So we already behind. So get ahead in life and then make sure you keep that income coming in. So example of a fix and flip, all right, is I bought this house for 25,000. I only needed $5,000 to get this house. So I'm about to show you how I got paid 3 times off of this house. All right. I bought this house for $25,000. I only needed 5,000, so I walked in and the bank gave me the house, right? So I took this $5,000. The $25,000 house was worth $38,000, right? So that means 38 minus 25 was $13,000, right? So if I had $13,000 worth of equity, I can pull that, right? That just means that equity just means that I have more value than what I owe. So if I owe 50,000 and the house is worth 100, I have 50,000 equity. So this house, it was worth 38,000, but I only owed 25,000, right? So I went in the bank and I pulled the equity out. So that means I walked out of the bank with a $13,000 check. I walked in with a $5,000 check. I walked out with a $13,000 check. And then I took that check, fixed up the house, and then sold it on a contract for $60,000. So this is how I got paid 3 times with one house. The first time I got paid, I walked in, pulled the equity out. That was one time getting paid. And then the tenant pays me every month. So he's paying down what I owe. So that's me getting paid 2 times. I owe $500 a month. He's paying me $750 a month, right? So now I'm getting paid 2 times. And then on the back end, when I get the 60,000, that's me getting paid 3 times for one deal. It's a little confusing, and not every deal is gonna go like that, but that's what the whole process was. A lot of people ask or say that they don't have the money, so it's a lot of ways you can find the money. Investors, investors is just normal people, like some rich old man or your grandma or your grandpa who have a lot of money that they not doing nothing with, but they want more money. If I got $1,000 sitting in the drawer, I want to turn it to $2,000. I will give it to you and let you do it. You know, that's what an investor is. Somebody who spends their money to make income. Spend their money to make more money with. That's an investor. And if you can find a deal that has equity, like the last example I just gave you, then most investors will invest with you. Most investors will give you that money if they see that the deal is worth it. So you gotta do the homework, make sure the deal is worth it, and then take it to an investor. Make sure I have equity. Now remember, equity is only what the house is worth minus what you're paying for the house. If the house is worth 100 and you're paying 50, you have 50,000 equity. That's a good deal. Another place to find the money is banks and credit unions. Now, with the banks and credit unions, you know, they government, so you got to go by certain rules. With investors, you don't have to go by these rules. Investors, they just care about the deal. They don't care about who you are or what you got going on. They care about the deal. Banks, they care about who you are and the deal. So with a bank, you're going to have 2 years on your job, decent credit, down payment. See, sometimes it's hard for people because they haven't been on their job for 2 years. In my case, I wasn't on my job for the whole 2 years, so a bank would not deal with me. And then I didn't have credit build up, you know. So in my case, I went to an investor, somebody like my landlord who could give me the money until I can come up with my credit score, come up with my down payment. So those is a couple places you can find the money. A little bit about credit, like Whenever people talk about credit, they think that it's just a score. Credit is not just a score. Credit tells everything about you, who you are, who you got money from in the past, did you pay them on time. Credit tells everything about you, and it's a couple facts that you need to know about credit. You got car credit, you got personal credit, you got credit cards, home loans. All of these is different credits. And the more you have on your report, the better it looks, especially if you've been paying them. So those is the type of things that the bank's gonna look for when they pull your credit report. Who you are, what you got money for, and did you pay it? All right. And then they're gonna look at your debt to income ratio. Debt to income ratio is how much you owe minus how much you make. So if you make $1,000 and you already owe 600 of it, that's terrible. You don't have no money left to play with, right? So they want that as low as possible. That's debt to income ratio. And I think 30% is a good number. So it's two types of debt. You got good debt and you got bad debt. A lot of people don't want to go into debt, but it's only because they don't understand the concept of good debt and bad debt. See, if I go into a bank and get $50,000 for a duplex, that debt is making money by itself. It's guaranteed to the bank. The bank will not have to do nothing. The person borrowing it will not have to do nothing. It's gonna come in because it's an income producing asset. The income producing asset always wins. So the bank will always lend on it, right? But whenever you're going into the bank trying to get that shiny new car, now you got a problem. Who are you and what do you do? Okay? So good debt versus bad debt is debt that you have to work for, right? I have to go to my job to pay for that shiny new car or that big beautiful house. It doesn't pay for itself. But when you spend your money on good debt, it pays for itself. A duplex, if you produce a product, those all pay for themselves where you do minimum work and reap the benefits of it. So understanding good debt and bad debt is very important in your financial journey. And the last thing I want to talk about is inflation. Inflation is when everything goes up in price. Dollar Tree is a great example of inflation. They built a whole system around charging $1 for products. And now look at them. Inflation that ate them up, and now they at $1.25 for everything in the store, right? So inflation is basically supply and demand. When the demand is high, then the supply goes down. When the supply goes down, then you have to raise the prices because it costs more to produce, right? It costs more for them to feed the chickens and the cows when the price of feed goes up. So therefore, they have to go up on the price. Inflation is happening right now, and it's very important to understand it and get on the right side of it. The right side of inflation would be to own something that pays you.